Alright, here's a vid that's probably too late to matter. Halloween, and October by extension, is a very near and dear holiday as it marks my favorite quarter of the year. So every year, me and Logan try to watch as many Halloween-y things as possible, which becomes a bit difficult to differentiate when you watch horror movies on a weekly basis. So here's my condensed, curated collection of recommended seasonal watches to really get into the season. Now before you say, why is it Hocus Pocus on here? Where's Jason 12? Jason goes to the cafe. The purpose of this is to mostly encompass things that I feel are personally more special to the season and things that you maybe haven't, looked at yet. I mean, everyone knows about Paranormal Activity, but not very many people know about Hellhouse LLC. Or a good amount of people do, but not as many. You get the idea. Some are movies, some are TV specials, some are cartoons, some are for kids, some are for adults, and some are just for the whole family. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
You don't really know much about Halloween. Halloween, the barriers will be down between the real and the unreal.
Trick or treat, trick or treat.
Hey, Mr. Cochran, just what is the final process?
Fellas, I was just kidding.
What? Shocked to see that this isn't one of the Michael Myers movies? Probably not. A lot of people who have a cursory knowledge of the series know about the original intention of the Halloween movies, which is basically to have a different horror movie based around the holiday every year, hence the name. But the first movie, the one about Michael Myers, was a bit too successful and they made a sequel instead of following the original idea. So Halloween 3 was a chance to return to the original plan, and then it failed horribly because audiences wanted a guy who walks at 1 mile per hour instead of a fun, unique movie based on a holiday every year and be its own special event that people could be excited for and wonder what sort of Halloween movie would happen next instead of the same old shit involving shitty William Shatner mask. As you can tell, I ain't too pleased about this. Anyways, Season of the Witch is about a corporation called Silver Shamrock.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
Yeah, trying to get that stuck in your head. Who is the most popular distributor of Halloween masks? But there's a weird conspiracy going on. Why is this guy being chased by Terminators over a Halloween mask? What's the plan with these masks? And why are there stone microchips in there? Why? It's not a very good movie, but it's fun and interesting. I certainly enjoyed it, and I think it's a fun watch for historical reasons, if that makes sense. If you want to watch what could have been, check it out. Witch's Night Out. Now, I'm surprised I haven't heard about this before. Witch's Night Out is an older Canadian cartoon full of surreal abstractions of humans on Halloween. These two kids that look like humanoid butterscotch candies want to have fun on Halloween and scare people, but they aren't very scary, as you can see here. So they end up getting the attention of a depressed, disgusting witch who transforms them into the monster of their choice for a day, so they can scare the town in the name of Halloween fun. And then the town forms an angry mob because that's what usually happens. It's very odd, funny in very specific ways, and it's just interesting to look at. I highly recommend this, if nothing else, because you probably haven't seen anything like this before, and it's probably on YouTube in really shitty quality because that's what we got. Murder Party! I believe I heard about this movie from a Cinemassacre video. I know James Rolfe was in it, but I can't quite remember which one. So if somebody knows, can you please link it in the comments?
Welcome to your murder. This is the party. We've been planning this for weeks.
The invitation said murder party. If some jackass is dumb enough to come here, then he deserves to die.
This is a not-so-recent movie about a loner named Christopher who don't got much to do on Halloween. All he has is a cat, and that cat doesn't even respect him.
Sir Lancelot, could you please get down?
So when he gets a mysterious invitation to a costumed murder party, he makes a dumb but somewhat understandable decision of going, dressed as a knight quickly made from cardboard boxes. And as it turns out, it was a trap. A bunch of weird, incompetent art students decide to trap and kidnap somebody to murder them as part of some avant-garde art project in hopes that it'll impress their equally creepy art professor into giving them a sizable grant. Now, as I mentioned earlier, these are incompetent art students, and it doesn't take long for them to start getting themselves hurt or failing to kill Christopher in multiple hilarious, fun ways. This movie's almost surreal, but it's really funny and definitely worth a watch. I don't pick most favorite anything because that's too inaccurate of a decision for me to really make, but Ed, Edd and Eddy's is the closest thing to make me ignore that. This is Ed, Edd and Eddy's Boo-Ha-Ha, the Halloween special for that series, which is about 3 friends, all some variation of the name Edward, who get into zany and hilarious schemes to scam the cul-de-sac out of their money, which fails 99% of the time. If you somehow don't know about Danny Antonucci's masterpiece of a cartoon, then you can ignore this if you want, just watch the entire series from start to finish and have a grand old time. I think I've watched this every year for at least a decade now. It's probably the most perfect Halloween special of any show I've seen. Instead of trick-or-treating for this year, Eddie wants to go for the Motherlode, a fabled place called Spookyville, where they give out buckets of candy courtesy of a shitty decrepit map left by his equally shitty older brother. Meanwhile, Ed, the lump, has horrific and beautifully animated hallucinations of the neighborhood kids turning into disgusting, terrifying creatures because he turned on too many horror movies before he went out tonight, and slays the monsters in their path.
Oh, you're a Viking!
Earth is not your salad bar!
So basically, he ends up beating the shit out of kids because of temporary onset schizophrenia while they make their way to Spookyville. Now, if that doesn't sound like Halloween fun, then you probably don't like similar things as me, and that's... okay. Scary Godmother's Spooktacular, Halloween Spooktacular. And the second one. Do I need to explain this? Anyone born before the year 2000 probably remembers this movie quite literally haunting Cartoon Network every October for what was close to a decade. I got sick of it and hated it, and I also watched it every year. I got really, really sad when Cartoon Network stopped airing it. It was like watching your crazy grandma everyone neglected die in the middle of the night. Scary God Spooky Halloween Hollow Pactacular involves 2 feature films made into terrifying early 2000s CGI about a little girl named Hannah who was scared into a spooky house on Halloween by her brother Satan, and who else would come to her rescue to teach her about the fun of Halloween than Scary Godmother herself. What you probably don't know, because why the hell would you research this movie, is that it's based on beautifully drawn and painted children's books of the same name. It was concepted to be animated in the same pretty watercolor style, and you can blame the author for her stinky decisions on it being in 3D. At the same time, if it wasn't for that disgusting CG, would it be so memorable? Probably. Spam a movie for an entire month for almost 10 years and anything will be memorable. Check it out to keep the tradition alive. Also, maybe check out the Scary Godmother wiki for a surprise every now and then. Hellhouse LLC. The first one. The first one! This is probably the best found footage movie I've seen, which is kind of a low bar to begin with, but this movie actually accomplished the idea very well. It's about a crew's tasked to make a haunted house for Halloween, and at least 15 guests dying mysteriously. So the movie pretty much documents what led to these tragic events and what happened. And no, it's not all in object shifting positions when they come back and go, whoa, how did that happen? It's more like, how the fuck did this end up here and what's happening? It feels very much like how normal people would react to something unexplainable happening around them. There's a mixture of fear, apprehension, denial, and even anger. Hearty recommendation, not just for the season, but good year round. Spongebob Squarepants, Shanghai. No, I'm not explaining Spongebob. There's multiple specials actually based on Halloween you could probably choose from, but strangely enough, this 20-minute special has always been our favorite. It's simply about SpongeBob, Squidward, and Patrick being shanghaied on a Flying Dutchman ship, and they had to get out.
That was a closer one!
Welcome back! Hey, how come when they act up, all they get is the welcome wagon? If you ask me, it's...
I wonder, are audiences young enough to the point to where they haven't seen this episode? I don't know. I'm old. Spoobadoob and the Witch's Ghost. Everyone always be talking about Zombie Island, and this one always gets buried, despite me liking it a little bit better. First off, this movie's fucking gorgeous. Secondly, it comfortably fits into the Halloween aesthetic with the abundance of fall leaves and the fact that it takes place in a recreational village somewhere in North England. South England? Oh wait, New England. That's the one. This movie's about the gang being invited to the town of Oakhaven by famous horror author Ben Ravencroft. Not at all a reference to somebody else. But the town has been turned into a tourist trap for Ben's ancestor Sarah, who was accused and executed as a witch, despite being a gentle Wiccan who healed the town. And now her vengeful ghost is back and it's terrorizing the attractions every night, and the gang's gotta figure out who's under the mask. The movie's got twists, turns, goth women, a large dog, and other things to complete the sentence. I highly recommend watching this movie, and again, it's just a good animated movie. It's probably one of the better, or probably the best, Scooby-Doo movie. It's a good watch. Samurai Jack in the Haunted House and Samurai Jack versus the Zombies. I put both here because they both fit so well, and honestly I couldn't really decide which one I like better. I don't think I need to explain this series either. In the Haunted House, Jack finds himself in a horrifying mansion that's plagued by the ghost of a Japanese family and he's trying to escape. And in Jack vs. Zombies, he's fighting and slaughtering an endless horde of the undead, and that's it. That's the beauty of this show and anything Gennady Tartakovsky makes. There's not much to really talk about other than experiencing it. Both of these work for a Halloween experience. Check out either or both. I would recommend doing both. Or in the whole series. Literally any of the entire regular show Terror Tales from the Park. Any of them. Or all of them. Dealer's choice. Literally anything from Courage the Cowardly Dog. Anything. Or all of them. Dealer's choice. The Underfist Halloween Bash. The unexpected climax to the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Trick or treat!
Beat it! Dracula don't need no health insurance. Dracula undead already.
No, I don't mean this movie's unexpected. I just mean that the movie was supposed to be the pilot for an Underfist series, but then they pulled the rug on it and we're just left with the movie. So, they didn't expect that to be the end, but here we are. And it's also led to Maxwell Adams and Craig McCracken leaving the network, so good job, Cartoon Network. Luckily, this movie's fantastic. I'm going to assume that Billy and Mandy's another show. I don't need to explain as much, but I'll give a brief blurb. Billy, Mandy, Grim Reaper, dark comedy adventures involving the undead, and their friend Erwin, who this movie's about. This movie focuses on Erwin, who's a half-mummy nerd and side character of the show, who just wants to have a good old Halloween and realizes his time is passing him by.
I'm Dracula, yo! King of the old-school vampires!
Let me tell you all the different ways you ain't Dracula. Dracula ain't no nerd. He ain't no dummy. Dracula ain't worn his collar sticking up stupid like that since 1982.
And then he's tricked into opening the gates to the underworld and has to stop a horde of evil candy from eating all the trick-or-treaters, headed by a maniacal candy bunny. So, they gotta get a crack team together composed of Erwin, Hoss Delgado, a monster-hunting amputee who is a parody of Ash Williams, General Scar, a one-eyed commander who got his flowers trampled and the only thing left from evil Con Carne, Jeff the Spider, who's a giant spider, and Fred Fredberger, who's a green elephant thing. It's got action, comedy, that wonderful Maxwell Adams humor and writing.
I am a spooky witch.
I am with the Spanish Inquisition. We burn witches.
I'm sorry, I agree to this.
It's everything a cartoon Halloween movie should be. Maxwell Adams, we miss you. By the way, what I said before about Courage and the regular show Terror Tales kind of applies to this too. Billy and Mandy's just a great thing to watch. Just kind of got that nice campy horror movie vibe to it, if that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, this movie is pretty great, at least focusing on that end as well. Last one on this list, because you probably have no way in the world of having enough time to watch all this. At the very least, watch this one. Over the Garden Wall. This one's an oddball for multiple reasons. It's an animated standalone miniseries. To start with, that's a brilliant idea that Cartoon Network attempted twice and then never again because the second attempt wasn't so good. And no, Steven Universe Future doesn't count. Anyways, if you don't know about Over the Garden Wall, it's 10 episodes that are 10 minutes long, and it's a dark fantasy comedy horror thing about two brothers in weird costumes lost in the woods called the Unknown, and they're trying to get home and avoid a weird mysterious creature known as the Beast. I mean, if that didn't convince you, you can just listen to the show describe itself.
Somewhere lost in the clouded annals of history lies a place that few have seen. A mysterious place called the Unknown, where long-forgotten stories are revealed to those who travel through the wood.
The show is gorgeous from its colors, designs, music, story, character interactions. It sports a beautiful fall palette, complemented by old American-inspired music to really get you into that comfy Halloween or even just fall mood. As I said before, the character interactions are delightful and quirky in a good way, not an annoying way. And there's some heavy voice talent here too. Elijah Wood as a dwarf, Christopher Lloyd as a woodsman, Jack Jones, a 1938 American jazz singer who plays a singing frog. This quickly became one of my favorite series of all time. Not just Halloween, I mean literally one of my favorite series of all time. It's a cohesive, solid, moving, funny, creepy, and always rewatchable, perfect way to get into the season. Or just so sit down, bundle up, and have a good time. I would highly recommend watching this at the very least out of everything I've listed here, if you haven't seen it already. And you can find us on HBO Max. There you go. Get a free trial at the very least, or just pirate it. I don't really care. But yeah, check it out. And that'll do it for now. Watch most of these if you can, or whatever looks interesting. You may have noticed an abundance of children's or cartoon stuff on here, and that's for a good reason. Growing up, stuff like this is why I became a horror fanatic. I think people forgot the importance of scaring kids. Kids like being scared in a safe, TV sort of way, because that thrill is important, and you feel that thrill the most when you were a kid. So I'm basically telling you to just show Texas Chainsaw Massacre to your kids and give them nightmares for a month and never let them trust the outside world. Happy Halloween, everybody. Bye-bye. Psst. Leave Halloween stuff you like to watch below. Also, it'd be sweet if you liked and subscribed. Bye-bye. For reals this time.